6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see what time we start. I hope we're going to start soon. We start. I hope we're going to start soon. We start. Sound seems to be working. Friends, good morning. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi. Movement is fundamental. Yeah, gotta love it. Movement is fundamental to health and quality of life. Let's talk about that this morning, all right? Thanks for dropping by, saying hi, and joining my podcast. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to sleep between 7 and 9 hours in a night. Last night I managed to sleep 6.5. So I am slightly short on sleep this morning, but that's all right. Because once in a while, that's allowed to happen. I do that by minding what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance. I try to eat 2,200 calories in a day. Some days I'll eat a bit more, some days I'll probably eat a bit less. And I do that because I want to maintain my current weight and level of health and fitness through food. If I can maintain that for a lifetime, I think I'm going to be fine. I try to show up for some training or activity every morning, usually first thing, 30 minutes. But I also try to live an active lifestyle. I try to move a lot throughout the day and just generally, do more physical activity to keep my body moving and active and capable throughout the day. I also do training, strength training, conditioning training, mobility training in different varieties or modalities. I focus on connecting with people I love and care about, spending time with them, building and fostering relationships, even though that can be hard and challenging given the challenges of modern life and having a career and kids, but also having strong relationships with my wife and children is a part of this, obviously. And I try to have things in life that I do to master and enjoy and get really good at, because I think learning new things and developing skills and focus is a crucial part of long-term health and well-being. And I talk about that mix right here on this podcast. So if that's something that you are interested in, on Mondays I talk about food, on Mondays I talk about sleep, on Tuesdays I talk about food, Wednesdays I talk about movement and activity, on Thursday we talk about connection, on Friday we talk about mastery, and on Saturday we talk about motivation, and on Sunday we reflect on the week. And I think I caught a slight cold or my hay fever is playing up. I'm not sure which of the two it is, but I might end up having to run off screen to sneeze for a bit. But anyway, if you're interested in those kinds of conversations and insights in my experience on health and fitness, then go ahead, hit subscribe, hit like on this stream, and we can continue that conversation not only today but any other time that you might be in the mood for a little bit of insight or information on health, fitness, longevity, or kettlebell training. Today we're going to talk about movement. And like I said at the start, we're going to talk about why movement is fundamental for long-term health and quality of life. Usually I talk about today's training first, but today's training is going to be a longer walk. So I'm actually recording the podcast first before going out for my walk. Usually I do a 30-minute workout first and then record the podcast. But I decided to flip it on its head a little bit today. So I hope you don't mind, but I would want to go out for a longer walk this morning. And it's a bit hard to broadcast and live stream while walking. That's why we are doing the podcast first. So today's training is just going to be a long walk, rather brisk maybe. Probably going to get my heart rate into zone 2 for a good part of that hour, but it's just going to be an hour of just simply stepping and walking. And working on that cardiorespiratory health, and I'll talk a bit about why that is in a moment. Today's topic is movement, and movement is important. Movement is important for many different reasons, but let's start at the top, right? Movement helps us improve health and metabolic markers like cholesterol levels, blood sugar control, insulin sensitivity, and because it helps us improve those health markers, we can say, well, how much of it do I actually need to get those benefits? And I think that's a very good question. That's a very good question because we need to look at movement in the context of our lives. So when I say movement, some of us may have thought training. But no, we're not talking about training. We're just talking about general activity. When I talk about today's training, I talk about something that I'm doing at a level of intensity that is not how I casually move around, but that is geared towards a specific function, so to drive a specific adaptation in my body's capability and general level of fitness. But training is something that I do on purpose, that I work towards a specific goal with, whereas general movement are just things we do throughout the day, around the house, in order to get things done, or at work, or to get to work, or to go to the grocery store, or to pick up our children, or to go out and play with our children. That's movement, right? So we have movement, activity, we have training, and we have sport and play, where we engage in some sort of activity as a form of fun and entertainment, pastime, sometimes alone, sometimes with other people. Actually, more often than not, sport and play is with other people. But things like, say, karate, doing kata in karate is something you can also do on your own. I'd call that more a sport or pastime rather than functional training, rather than just movement. But going for a leisurely stroll at the end of the day around the block, I'd categorize as movement. And it's important to have these distinctions because all of them serve different functions, even though they all have similar effects on our general health metabolic markers. Okay? And don't ask me to go too deep into metabolic markers. I'm not an expert, I'm not a doctor. I just understand that there are certain markers that we would look at, that I would have a conversation about with my doctor, that I had a conversation about with the cardiologist when I did my VO2 max test and health screening, that are important in terms of understanding the picture of the overall health and fitness level of myself or an individual. So why would we put all of this emphasis onto cardiovascular fitness, right? Well, because cardiovascular fitness is such an important predictor or significant predictor of the reduced risk of premature death. Yeah, I think the curve is something like this, that the higher your cardiorespiratory fitness, the lower your risk of premature death, okay, or all-cause mortality. Why that is, I don't know. I can't explain. There are people online who can explain that better. But the fact is that that is a good indicator. I say this very often, right? When we talk about all of these risk factors, we need to remember we can do everything right in life. We can sleep 8 hours a night. We can eat the near perfect diet for our health and fitness. We can move sufficiently within the guidelines. We can be at the top of our game of physical health, and yet still we can find ourselves meeting an untimely demise, because that is how life can work. But barring that tragedy, there's a choice to make, and I've made the choice to say, well, I would rather do everything right and then take that risk that that could happen. But the upside of that is that when I hit 70, 80, maybe even 90, I might be physically capable and able and fit, because my body is allowing me to do all those things because of the time investment I've made in my general health and fitness. So I'm going to have more life, the more my lifespan increased, and I'm going to have that in a healthy way. That's the gamble I'm making, and I'm fine with that. But other people might make different gambles. Some people might say, no, I'd rather do everything now and then see where it ends. And that's completely fine as well. Whatever choice you're making, I just say make sure that it's a conscious choice, and one where you've researched the pros and cons of the different outcomes. And I see a lot of upside to the path that I've chosen right now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing that. But power to you for making your own choice in that department. Geese88, hey there, good morning. Thanks for dropping by, for saying hi. I haven't seen you for a while. I hope you're doing all right. I hope life is treating you well. I'm doing all right, and I'm actually going to wrap up the stream in a moment and go out for a nice long morning stroll through the forest. What's your day been like? And I think it's the end of the day where you're at, so you're probably winding down, getting ready for bed, as I'm starting with a cup of coffee here. Now, the thing about movement that we need to understand and remember is that the body will adapt. This is also why increasing training is such a bad... One second, sorry. By simply increasing training is such a bad idea in terms of trying to, for example, lose weight, because there are better tools we have for weight loss and weight maintenance than simply training hard. But that's a different topic. Because the body adapts to the level of intensity, it gets fitter, and as it gets fitter and more efficient, the amount of energy it expends to do certain tasks becomes less. So for me, because I've been walking at this low intensity steady state for about a month now, the initial impact that I saw on my waistline and my I think the fat that I was carrying around was significant. That has tapered off because my body's gotten used to a certain level of activity. And by the way, that little bit of weight loss was happy convenience, but it wasn't the goal, right? The goal was just to maintain a certain level of movement throughout the day as my back was recovering from a back injury. So the body will adapt, and we need to be mindful that, we need to be mindful of those three modalities that I talked about just now. So movement, training, and sport and play. Is that when you been busy day, move to my new house, but lay down, hopefully I'll catch you next time. Good night, sleep well, and I hope everything around the house has gotten organized. I appreciate you dropping by and saying hi. So we can see that generally that adaptation, right, through training, we want to get fitter and healthier. And that is why we use movement as a way to increase our general health and ability. So the body will adapt. We will become fitter over time, but we will become fitter specifically for a 5-kilometer or 10-kilometer run, or fitter in lifting, deadlifting 30, 40, 50 kilos off the ground through training. We will become fitter in terms of the walk to the supermarket, the walk up and down the hill, the stroll around the block, simply through moving. And because of that adaptation, movement alone is not the key to managing our weight and our general body composition, right? So movement is fundamental to our long-term health and quality of life, but it's the mix of sleeping well, eating well, and moving sufficiently that is going to allow us to create that general health and fitness that we are after. And we need to keep looking at how we're sleeping, how we're eating, and how we're moving throughout the day to understand where we are on that journey. Anyway, I hope that was useful and insightful. That's the way I look at movement specifically as a part of my mix of activities for a long and healthy life. If you have any questions, you let me know in chat or in the comments on the video. I'll be back tomorrow with a mobility session and another recording. Tomorrow we're going to talk about connection specifically. If that's something you're interested in or you found this useful, hit like, subscribe, and let's connect over the live stream or through shorts or through any of my other videos. I am trying to hit the watch time target for YouTube, which is 3,000 hours, like at 1,200 at the moment. So I've got 1,800 more hours of watch time to go. I am trying to create that one video that 10,000 people watch, but I'm having a hard time getting there. But if you find the content interesting, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone, hit subscribe, it helps the channel. Leave a comment under the video. And if you want to go to my long form videos and just watch 1 minute of a couple of those videos, it would help me tremendously in reaching that watch time target. I'd really appreciate that. One small change that we can make in terms of moving throughout the day. Right? What is one small thing that we can do that is going to help us to actually incorporate a bit more movement in our daily lives? Well, here's one, and that is that at the start of our commute, leave the house 3, 4, 5 minutes earlier and walk those 5 minutes extra around the block, wherever that might take you or whatever that might be. But try to do that structurally. That is 25 minutes of movement every day. That we've added to our weekly routine. And since the guidelines call for, anywhere between 70 and 120 minutes of movement a week, those 25 minutes of movement do add up to that total in the end. And if you're getting there, I think you're doing great. So try that and see if you can make that work in your daily and weekly schedule. Friends, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. Remember, we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today who's going to get us to where we're going to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to go a long way. There are enough people out there who want to put us down, so we'll lift ourselves up, all right? And the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So I will see you tomorrow. And remember, friend, if you're watching this, subscribe.